years old. You wake up, your head is hurting so much that you can barely open your eyes. You go to your mom and you say, "Mommy, I don't feel good." She gives you medicine. Things just aren't looking good. She brings you to the doctors. Even the doctors don't know what's going on. They run a brain scan just to find out you have a brain tumor. Now imagine that's your kid. Welcome to another Life Lessons. That was my wife and I's situation when I first met her. We were maybe 3 months into our relationship, and her son got diagnosed with a brain tumor. And through all of the chemo, radiation, medications, tubes in his stomach because he couldn't eat right, all I have to say is my oldest son is my hero. I don't know how else to explain this to you. So it's going to get a little deep, and it's going to go Donnie Darko deep. I chose this movie because fast forward 13 years later, here we are. My oldest is 22 years old. He is a great, great kid. Always helpful, willing to do anything for anybody. And right now, he's in a mental institution because all of the chemo and radiation just stopped his brain growth at a very young age. So for him, his short-term memory just isn't there. His ability to speak out when he wants to just isn't there. And he puts himself in these situations that are very hard to get out of. About a month ago, my oldest was visiting in family, and he just, for some reason, woke up and he just wasn't himself. And, his aunt and uncle got concerned and they brought him to the hospital. And now he's still there. And he's just not our Matthew.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How much are they paying you to be here?
Excuse me? What is your name, son?
Gerald.
Well, Gerald, I think you're afraid.
Are you telling us this stuff so we can buy your book? Because I gotta tell you, if you are, that was some of the worst advice I ever heard.
Is an anger prisoner, a textbook exam prisoner. Do you see the fear, people? This boy is scared to death of the truth. Son, it breaks my heart to say this, but I believe you are a very troubled and confused young man. I believe you are searching for the answers in all the wrong places.
You're right, actually. I am. I'm pretty troubled and I'm pretty confused, but I'm afraid, really, really afraid. Really afraid, but I think you're fucking Antichrist.
He is seeing things. He is talking, well, supposedly talking to people that have been passed away for years now. He says he sees people in there, and these doctors are just so quick to brush them off. My oldest, if he applies himself, he can work wonders. He is so smart, but there are days where he wakes up and he's 13 years old. And then there's days that he wakes up and he's, 22 years old.
What I think is going on with your son.
Yes. Well, he's, you know about his past, and he was suspended from school for insulting his gym teacher.
Well, I'm not really sure that's a good example, Rose. I think he had just cause to insult her.
Rose, let me just lay out what I believe is happening here.
The answer that these doctors keep giving us is just some of the biggest excuses me and my wife have ever heard. And it's because it's not their kids. It's not their family trapped in there. Because if it was, nothing would stop them from getting them better, to make them better. They don't want to help my son. My son had one good day where he woke up and he was slightly back to his normal self. I mean, he's always been a shy kid. He was homeschooled, so there wasn't much of a social life, and that's only because during the chemo radiation, he lost his hair. He went through stages where he was just skin and bones. And unfortunately, we live in a society where people just, when you're different, they look at you different. They make fun of you. If it wasn't for my wife's mom, helping us out, she was a saint, in certain aspects, because me and my wife had our, my firstborn, my youngest, who's 12 now, he had complications, and this was all at the same time. We're going through chemo and radiation with Matthew, and he's getting injected with all these different medications. And then we had a premature little guy, and he's having all these complications. And, it just gets to a point where our mental health was struggling. The best way that my oldest described how he feels right now is exactly this.
Wake up. I've been watching you. Come closer.
He's hearing voices sometimes, and they switched his medication, and my wife asked them not to. And they did anyways, because he's 22, so in a technical sense, even though his mind is not a 22-year-old, they made him sign paperwork that he didn't understand. And my wife threatened them because he had one good day, like I said. And then they were just willing to, oh, he's fine, just let him go. Because they didn't want to deal with him. They didn't want to, go through the process to see if insurance will cover it. My wife has called and harassed these doctors on what is going on. And they all just brush us off. And my wife, they don't know her, but my wife is a fighter, and she's going to get what she wants. And, like I said, they were trying to kick him out because one day he was somewhat back to it. And then he went right back to seeing, illusions, talking about things that aren't there.
Why you wear that stupid bunny suit?
Why are you wearing that stupid man suit?
Talking about people that passed away that he thinks that are there. And what I want to say in this life lesson is that mental health is extremely important. You can be the most physically built, muscle-bound, Greek chiseled person, but if your physical mind, if your mental is not where it needs to be, you will never be that strong in order to overcome things. The only thing that I can say is that I can't imagine being in my son's shoes. It's got to be a dark place to where you don't know what's going on.
Don't worry. You got away with it.
How can you do that?
I can do anything I want. And so can you.
Why do you make me flood the school?
They are in great danger.
Where did you come from?
Do you believe in time travel?
Who are you talking to?
And it feels like nobody cares because we can't get him out of there. But we do, and we try to explain this over and over and over because of the brain damage that all these CAT scans have done and all of these, different types of medications that they had him on. You never know what he's going to wake up to day by day. And me and my wife are always prepared for that. And he's just such a great guy, such a great kid. I wish there were doctors out there that actually cared about their job and didn't care about the paycheck. When you were dealing with mental patients, you have to have exactly that, patience. You have to get to the bottom and the root cause of what is going on. But all I want, and the reason why I made this video and decided to share it with you, is because I don't want somebody else to go through this. Even though you may go through this, you'll never understand until you're in that position, and you'll think back to, do you have the type of mental health awareness that you should? Now, it just so happened that May is Mental Health Month, and don't be so quick to judge a book by its cover. When you feel that someone does have somewhat mental health issues, try to get them help. Try to sit down. Try to spark a conversation with them. Sometimes just simply sparking a conversation with my oldest son will spark him out of whatever's going on, and he's able to open up. One of the hardest things for a patient that has brain trauma to do is open up because they don't know who to open up to. And even as a parent, you always want your kids to come to you. You don't want your kids to fear you or fear that, if you ask a question that you're going to call them dumb or stupid, because that's just not the right way to go about parenting. Have I gotten into arguments with my oldest son? Yes. Have I told him that the things that he has done were pretty stupid and he should have thought that one over? Yes, but it's using it as an example and not calling him stupid directly, because when you have brain trauma, the thing is that people are quick to say, you're dumb, you're stupid, oh, look at him, he's so confused, not even knowing what the history of that person is. If you're a doctor or a nurse out there and I somehow reached you, somehow my video found you, please don't think about the paycheck. Don't think about the money. The problem is you, as a physician, as a PA, as a registered nurse, as a regular nurse, it is your job to help seek and find the root of the cause. And with your help, along with the people that are in that person's life, with everybody's help, mental illness, mental health can be one of the strongest things in this country if we just support each other. But before a person gets to that stage of insanity, just sit down and take the time to listen to them and understand and bring yourself to their level and understand where they're coming from.
Do you feel alone right now?
I mean, I'd like to believe I'm not, but I've just never seen any proof, so I just don't debate it anymore, you know? It's like I could spend my whole life debating it over and over again, weighing the pros and cons, and in the end, I still wouldn't have any proof, so I just don't debate it anymore.
Does that scare you?
I don't want to be alone.
But I hope that I can reach just a few people to help understand what brain trauma can do to a child throughout his teenage life and then into adulthood. Please don't be quick to judge. Don't stare at somebody that you know may have a disability, because it's just not right. You know, my son, when we're walking around, he notices people that look at him because he walks a little different, he looks a little different, but he's not. He is an amazing kid, and I wouldn't trade him for the world. I wouldn't trade my youngest for the world, and I wouldn't trade my wife for the world. And all the money in the world, I wouldn't do it. You know, me and my wife have been through the toughest times I've ever been through with anybody. And we're here for each other. Once my son is, released and he's doing better and he comes back home, I'm going to get him to do a video with me, and you're going to see how great of a kid he really is. Because to me, he's still a kid. He is still, he's a grown man in his own way, but I still see him as that little 9-year-old that I first met. And I knew right then and there, when I first met him, that A, I was going to marry his mother, and B, I was going to be his father that he needed. So thank you, and join me on Wednesday, because I'm going to be doing another top 5, and I'm not going to tell you what it is. And remember, mental health is a very, very common issue, but it's an issue we can all get by simply opening up, talking to somebody, and proceeding on with life. See you on the next video.